Good afternoon, Minister. Minister, do you think South Africans should be content by the fact that you are the fourth minister?
No, I think that the instability there, the changes, you know, if you have, if you're appointed as an important portfolio and you have the time to achieve something, that's important. So the changes that have been occasioned have been what the President thought necessary in the circumstances that we found ourselves after General Mkunazi made that statement. Has led to it's a hiatus. It's a period. It was a sort of inflection point or crisis point that led to my appointment. I'm very aware of that. That it's and I was, you know, quite shocked, and I would say even saddened by the fact that Senzum Chunu was put on special leave. I've always held him in high regard, and I was surprised. I'm surprised by some of the evidence that has been led. As the chairperson of the council, quite shortly before these events, he agreed to meet with myself as the chair of the council, and we'd struggled to get a meeting previously, you know, to engage with SAPS on the work that we were trying to do. And we had a very productive meeting.
Sorry, Minister, we don't have a lot of time.
Okay.
Can we leave it at that you were saddened, that you weren't quite content with being appointed as the fourth minister, placing strain on the South African purse? Am I right?
I tend to be quite frugal in the way I carry out this office. I haven't, as you know, in the private office, for many reasons, but there I have used secondments. Major General Susan Pinar is now the Chief of Staff. The person who was acting as the Chief of Staff, or in the position of the Chief of Staff, appointed by Minister Mchunu, I felt that if he's going to appear before the Madlanga Commission and yourselves, and given some of the evidence that's being led, that he should no longer carry that responsibility for me. But you know, General Pinar is a career police officer, so there's no additional budgetary implications.
Minister, I'm going to request of you to please keep your answers very short. I don't have a lot of time. When the President Cyril Ramaphosa called you, what was his ask and what did it entail? Take us through that conversation.
It was a very brief conversation. I had said in public that, you know, I was watching tennis that day. It was a Sunday. And my phone was upstairs. It rang a few times, but I ignored the ringing. And then it was about 7 o'clock that evening, I got a call from his national security advisor to say the president is looking for you, and please take his call. So I said, of course I'll take his call. And then the president called me about 5 minutes later and said, listen, I want to appoint you as the Minister of Police. I was taken aback, and I must have asked him, well, what's happened with the incumbent? He must have given me, I don't recall now in detail, a brief explanation, but I didn't hesitate. Okay. I just accepted this as a responsibility.
Okay, you didn't hesitate, you didn't think of the fact that there were already 2 deputy ministers, you didn't highlight that, you didn't ask him why me, you didn't highlight the fact that this would put strain on the public purse, you just said, I'm in it.
I didn't even know there were 2 deputy ministers.
Okay.
I hadn't been, you know, I didn't, yeah, I just didn't know that.
You didn't say to him, give me some time to think about it,
No,
because
I
obviously these decisions will impact the greater South Africa. You just said, despite not knowing that there were 2 deputy ministers, you just said, I'll take the job.
You know, maybe we have a cultural issue here. You have to understand that, you know, for the generation that I grew up in, public office was not a prospect, and it wasn't the aim. And I can say that to you with complete frankness. I am carrying out a public responsibility. Of course, it's a high office. It has a lot of status and responsibility. But I'm not, that is, it really doesn't interest me, to be perfectly frank.
Thank you, Minister. You're not that kind of guy. Minister, South Africans are frustrated. They are angry like me. What are some of the low-hanging fruit that we can act on right now towards reform? Because we also don't know how long you're going to be in this position. And we know whenever a new person, minister, steps in, all the old strategies gets thrown in the bin. So we don't know how long you're going to be there. Have you identified low-hanging fruit that we can implement immediately?
So I'm going to take the time that's necessary to understand what needs to be done and how it needs to be done. I don't think there are low-hanging fruit in the South African Police Service. It might be that there are some immediate steps that have to be taken around consequence management, for instance. I've identified some clear areas where I think attention needs to be directed, like accountability in supply chain. But I'm not going to rush into making decisions. I will engage, I will consult, I will reflect, and I will act.
Thank you, Minister. You don't see firing of General Sibia and the Minister as a low-hanging fruit based on the allegations and the evidence that has been brought before the Madlanga Commission?
Which minister?
Minister, I must watch my pronunciation here. Minister Nkunu, yes.
Well, that's not my decision.
Okay.
Okay.
But I asked you your view in
My
terms
view.
of low-hanging fruit that would contribute towards
No,
reform immediately.
I'm afraid I can't. That's the President's decision, and that's my answer.
Okay. Minister, let's take a walk down memory lane because I see there's similarities here. We saw the disbandment of the Scorpions in 2008. I think this was under President Jacob Zuma as well. We see all these presidents disbanding entities when they are embroiled in corruption. We saw the replacement of the Hawks under SAPS. Also another failed mandate, South Africa suffering with the consequences. We now see IDAC under NPA, another interagency mess. We know that you served as the chairperson of the National Anti-Corruption Council, I'm right? And there you've made a recommendation for another entity, I think it was called the Public Office of Integrity. The Public Office of Integrity. The Office of Public Integrity, sorry. Do you want to start another anti-corruption body that's going to take us how long? We've seen sort of the negative impact and the corruption within these Chapter 9 institutions, and we know this could possibly take years. Do you think this is the right step to take?
So maybe you're confusing the Hawks with the Scorpions. The Hawks, that's the DPCI. It continues to exist. It's in SAPS. It's a very important component. And I've indicated that I think that it needs to be developed and reshaped into the main vehicle for attacking organized crime. So it does exist. Your observations about IDEC are not quite right, because IDEC came out of a constitutional court judgment responding to the disbandment of the Scorpions, which is what I think you intended to say. And it's an attempt to implement a prosecution-led approach to the fight against corruption by strengthening the independence of that institution. So what you are mischaracterizing with respect to this initiative. It's an important initiative in the reform process. It's not going to be helpful, with respect, member, to be impatient with the serious questions we're facing around institutional reform and capacity building. We had an extraordinary achievement in this country when we had a democratic breakthrough. We adopted a constitution in a relatively peaceful way, and we set up a range of institutions. Some of them have been an enormous success. Others have failed. The challenge is to learn from those experiences, look at where we need to rebuild capacity, and where necessary, establish new institutions, because we are dealing with an evolving situation that could not possibly have been anticipated 30 years ago. Now, the proposal we've made, you're quite right, when you establish institutions, it can take a long time. Australia is in the process of establishing a similar anti-corruption institution. It took them 15 years, as I understand it. And now in the implementation phase, I understand that they've experienced some problems. Can you say that the Australians are wrong to consider establishing an anti-corruption institution because they came to the conclusion that they needed one? They had the usual institutions, strong prosecutors, investigative bodies, and so forth, but they considered that it was necessary to establish an anti-corruption institution. Our constitutional court has said that we need to establish an anti-corruption institution, and across the world, anti-corruption institutions have been established in jurisdictions across the world in the last 10 years. They are responding. That's a response to a real need. Now, the way we've approached this question is pragmatically. I know if you're asking me questions that require a response, I need to have the time to respond if you want an answer, because I can't give you a simple answer. So if you feel that I've run out of time, I'll stop.
I didn't say anything, Minister.
No, I just thought that I might be running out of time, because you did indicate that I'm taking too long with my answers. Now, the OPI is not an entirely new body. We've looked at the SIU, which has infrastructure across the country, proven capabilities of leadership, and a proven skills base. That institution has shown success, and it has a footprint across the country. It's led by someone I think has outstanding leadership abilities, Motibe. Now, what we've said is that we need to establish this we need new capabilities, because it has the capabilities of the SIU at the moment are specific. Only the President issues specific proclamations based on evidence that's provided to investigate a particular matter, like Tembisa Hospital. And then they are limited to exercising powers that the President has conferred by proclamation. That's not optimal. You need a body that can investigate matters without a presidential proclamation. You need a body that can deal with whistleblowing. We don't have such institutions in place at the moment. So what we have proposed is to augment, to build upon the powers and functions of the SIU by by creating a new, by adopting a new statute, expand its powers and functions, but build on what it's already achieved, because that will shorten the time that it takes to establish an institution. And while we are doing that, the SIU will continue incrementally to expand its powers and capabilities. So we have made a proposal which takes the country's resource constraints into account, its needs into account, because we certainly need to fight corruption more effectively. Now let me give you an example of what we're trying to achieve. A real live example. Tembisa Hospital. We are acting too late now. We're learning the truth too late. The harm has already been done. That institution has been destroyed by corruption. That corruption is systemic. What happened is that cartels took over the systems of the hospital. And it then started to serve the interests of the cartels, not the patients. Now, what we have in mind is an institution that has powers of search and seizure, of entry, of investigation, that could have gone into the hospital, looked at their systems, came to conclusions based on the evidence, made binding recommendations on, for instance, on procurement reform. And we've said, in addition, if they discover evidence of criminal malfeasance, they should be able to carry out the criminal investigation. So in a very limited way, they've been given powers of criminal investigation. We didn't want to go the whole hog because other bodies have the responsibility, like the DPCI, to investigate crime. It is going to take time. We took 3 years to adopt the report. The country had adopted the anti-corruption plan 2 years earlier. That's 5 years already. And I would say the report is nowhere near the implementation phase. It hasn't yet been
Minister,
adopted
I'm
in
so
government.
sorry. With all due respect, I think you've responded. You're now giving us case studies and examples. I think if anything...
Okay, that's fine if you are satisfied with the answer.
I'm satisfied, yes. I think if anything, that's more concerning now, the fact that you speak about this long process and the fact that we don't have an institution or a body in place that can protect whistleblowers. I also want to ask on a different topic, Minister. You mentioned that you were concerned, something along those lines, about the conduct of former Minister Becky. Am I right? Yeah, thanks for saying that for me. And you mentioned association. You know, one needs to, the company we keep, you spoke about having a principled approach. Is that correct? Right now we have a strategy for, yesterday we spoke in the committee for the Cape Flats, am I correct? Okay. The generals heading up the strategy, is General Mosekile one of them? You speak about having ethical leaders, you speak about association. Is this the same general that was embroiled in a case for, I think it was buying macro goods backdoor?
Yes.
Are you aware of that?
Yes, I am aware.
And you think she's the right person to spearhead the operation for the Cape Flats?
So, I'm aware that there's an IPID investigation.
Okay.
I do not have, they have not come to a conclusion.
Okay,
but
so
I'm aware that
despite the
matter's
fact
being
that you know that
investigated.
she's embroiled, there's a case against her, a current case against her, you choose that person. Despite the fact that we don't have public trust, that person is now going to head up an operation in the Western Cape to deal with corruption when she herself has allegations of corruption.
I didn't choose General Musekili.
Okay.
She is the deputy national.
Are you able to
commissioner.
advise the NC against her sort of leading up this operation? Obviously not instructing, maybe just, you know, saying to him, hey, can we look at someone else until she's cleared? We're not saying she's guilty.
Yes. No, I haven't considered that. It might be that I think that you are raising a matter that is concerning. I do not dispute that. I have to work with what's there.
Okay.
There is also a whole team. Lieutenant General Sentumule has also been critical in formulating the strategy. You know, there's a whole team of people working. So I don't think.
We understand that,
Yes.
Minister. We're specifically speaking about this one person. We have seen over the years and over the past couple of months how people that has come into this house are embroiled in crime. So we want to know that whatever we do going forward, we don't have those elements and those characters as part of operations that's meant to sort of restore public trust. I think I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Minister, anything to say from that comment?
No, I think it's a fair comment.
Okay. Thank you so much, Honourable James. Honourable Skosan.
Chair, I thought the acting minister will respond on that because we don't want to go out of here misleading the public. Honourable James mentioned that the Scorpion was disbanded by Jacob Zuma, President Zuma. It's not true. And the minister knows because unless he has resigned from the ANC. In 2007, in the National Conference, the ANC took a resolution. And then President Kgalema Motlanthe disbanded the Scorpion in 2009 in January. I wanted to put that on record that we should not really mislead the public. President Kgalema Motlanthe at that time disbanded the Scorpion. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, may I say, Chairperson, because I am assuming the honourable member was in that conference, so was I, and I definitely opposed that decision vigorously, and I confirm today that I think it was the wrong decision, and we are learning the lessons of that decision. But otherwise, I have no dispute with the facts that you are putting on record.
No, Chair, I just wanted to make that clear. The issue is debatable. When I get my time, I'll respond on that. For me, it was a good decision because it was politically targeting people. Hence, we took that resolution. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Honourable Sangweni. Do you want to start questioning?
Okay.
Remember, they have just joined in the afternoon and.
Oh, okay. Oh, Mandy, nice. Okay. Thank you.
Are you ready?
I'm ready. I must just find my notes, which I can't find now. Okay. All right. Thank you, Minister. Sorry, I was still stretching and laughing at Honourable Skosana there. Minister, let me thank you very much for, firstly, I think your appearance, but also the contributions that you made in your statement. And I do want to say that, I mean, we've been trying to go through them with a fine-tooth comb, and really the work that you put in to help us look at possible areas of reforms is really appreciated. So thank you for that. Just a few questions that I've got, I think, arising from your statement. In paragraph 23, you indicate that there's a problem with procurement supply chain issues, I'm paraphrasing, as it relates to crime intelligence, so the whole /fund Secret Service account. And you then juxtapose the fact that you can't use the normal procurement processes. However, there's a requirement for these covert operations. Now, you would know Section 217 of the Constitution requires transparency in the process of procurement and supply chain. How are you thinking that that can be resolved? Because, I mean, a lot of these problems do arise from that /fund issue.
Thank you for the question, Honourable Member. It has to be resolved. I mean, so step one is to recognize that Section 217 of the Constitution is applicable. So any system that is designed for the closed account has to be compliant with 217. But I also think that there has to be a special dispensation. So the question becomes how to achieve transparency, which is consistent with the work of crime intelligence, which is vitally important for the fight against crime, particularly organized crime. I mean, think about the gang violence in the Western Cape and across the country. What we need is good intelligence. So we need to rebuild crime intelligence. They need to be able to, they need informer networks and so forth and so forth. They need to operate in a clandestine way. They need to spend money, you know, in the course of the work that they do. But we, as the in Parliament and in public and the public in general, need to be assured that the money is not being misused. So I think there has to be a special dispensation, and I indicated that I've asked Deputy Minister Motale to look at that question. It's probably going to require reform of the. I understand that the extant legislation has not changed in the post-apartheid era, and that we're still operating with apartheid era legislation. So the problem is not just that, it's that we don't have a regime that is designed for our needs now that we are a constitutional democracy. And how that circle should be squared, I don't have answers yet. We have to go through an inquiry process. But it needs to be done. Yesterday, the Treasury took an important step to grant the criminal intelligence INSAPs an exemption, which the other security agencies have enjoyed, because without that exemption, the Auditor General has had no option but to find on a routine basis that the account should be qualified. That's obviously because they don't have full assurance. So we need a system of assurance on the one hand, and we need to build up crime intelligence. And I think that's one of the areas perhaps that the committee can also take a view on.
Okay, I hear you, Minister. I don't want to dwell on this, but I mean, looking at it, I would have wondered if it was not just about strengthening oversight and accountability on that instead of a whole new dispensation. But let's leave it, since you're saying you're still wrapping your head around it as well. Then on paragraph 25, you indicate that since the head of IPID is appointed by the minister, this has been open to abuse. Is this an apprehension, Minister, or is there something that informs this perspective? So you're worried about it, or has it happened? Has it been abused?
No, I have no reason to think that the decisions that have been made in the past have been impaired in some way. The IPID has evolved into quite a strong institution. The audit reports, as I was indicating, showed that yesterday. It can be strengthened. I just think that there's an institutional problem that could lead to those consequences, because IPID investigates misconduct in the police service. Now, there's a potential tension between the police service and IPID. The minister is the minister of the police, but I'm supposed to appoint, that position is now, needs to be filled, but so there's an acting person there now, by the minister. I have to do that. I think I might look at whether there's a way to ensure that the IPID appointment process is more independent. Because neither the IPID needs to be at a distance both from the minister and the national commissioner, but they both have to have a respectful relationship with IPID if they're committed to an integrity project, to improving integrity in SAPS. So there is, you know, you've got the minister who's executive authority of SAPS. I appoint IPID. IPID is the watchdog of the police. Yeah, I'm not sure that works optimally.
Yeah. Speaking about tensions then, Minister, what, in your opinion, do these events, recent events, and I'm referencing here particularly the arrest of General Khumalo, has it had any impact on the relationship between SAPS and IDEC?
I think probably without any doubt. And so it is concerning. It's concerning because these bodies have the responsibility to deal with crime. And now there's a situation where IDEC is investigating the head of intelligence, crime intelligence, for corruption. You know, it's not a desirable situation, and I think there is now tension between IDEC and the police, and that's not a good position to be in. Okay,
when you were delivering your testimony, Minister, I saw that you didn't want to dwell on the issue, but I do want to dwell on it a bit. When General Masemula was here, I did ask him about, you know, this thing of IDEC going to arrest somebody for high employment practice irregularity, whatever it was, an HR issue though. He thought that it was unusual. I know that when the head of IDEC sits before us, she's going to couch it as state capture. I don't know. For me, it's a stretch, right? And I don't know, in your extensive experience, and I mean, if people have done wrong, okay, consequences must follow, but in your extensive experience, have you come across somebody who would have been arrested, you know, and then there's issues of fraud and what relating to employment irregularities?
You know, I have the same question, but I think that it wouldn't be correct for me to answer that question. I look forward actually to IDEC's appearance before the committee, so that they will take the opportunity to clarify this matter, because I do know what General Masemola's view is, and I would say that because the matter does apparently relate to a decision to appoint a particular person in a particular position, which is usually doesn't lead to suspicions of criminality. So they will have to definitely clarify why they have charged General Khumalo and why they arrested him.
So Minister, you come into the...
Honourable Sokanyile.
Thank you. Sorry, Honourable Member. I've got a follow-up to the answer of the Minister, whereby he's saying that...
Yeah, the follow-up will come later. Let's allow Honourable Sangweni to conclude you. Yeah. That is the decision you unanimously voted for.
I didn't hear.
Okay. Sorry, Minister. So I was saying you come in on the 1st of August, right? And you're not the fourth minister, you are the second. Well, in fact, there isn't even a second. There's one minister, there were two acting. Okay, doesn't matter. You come in on the 1st of August, and obviously you weren't there before, Minister, but what did you find there? You know, I think a number of members of this committee hold a view that a lot of these problems that we are seeing at SAPS is about infighting, divisions. I know that the generals are sensitive to us calling them factions, divisions within the top leadership of SAPS. So what did you find when you got there? Do you find an institution that is cohesive? Yeah, maybe that's my question.
Look, I have to carry out my responsibilities with the existing leadership of SAPS. So I am working with them, and I'm trying to work as constructively as possible with them. The speculation out there, which has a basis, I don't deny that, about divisions and so forth, can't be my starting point, can't be my default position. So I go to work every day. I engage with General Masemola, usually more than frequently throughout the day. I meet with the generals and others. The background to the tensions are not my focus. I think that it won't be constructive and productive for me to form views, strong views about, you know, about the concerns about factionalism and so forth. But clearly, because I can't behave like an ostrich, I have to understand the dynamics within the organization, the relationships that have developed, the loyalties that exist and don't exist. And I think that there's going to be a challenge to build a cohesive leadership that is focused on the way forward. And my message to them is, you know, defend your uniform, defend your country, defend your people, focus on what you need to be doing, correct misbehavior, understand that you're losing the confidence, the trust of the people of this country. Let's work together to restore that trust. That has to be my focus. So I'm not one, you know, I'm not avoiding your question. It's just, and I do have views. I do have views about what might be going on, about who's who, but I don't think it would be right for me to act on the basis of supposition, on impressions, subjectively, on impressions. I have to work with what's there, to respect the people who are in positions, and to start to hold them accountable. And that includes General Masemola, that includes the deputy generals, including those against whom there are accusations. And we're going to have to get there. We get to get to a point where they can act cohesively as a leadership in accordance with their mandate. And I do feel that there's a lot to work with. I have said, and I think that there are many, that there are officers in the leadership of SAPS who are competent, who are professional, who are well trained, that the organization as a whole functions every day across the country. They go to work every day. They are fighting crime, they're arresting criminals every day. But we also know what's coming, what is being revealed in the Madlanga Commission, what is being revealed in this ad hoc committee. We can't ignore that. And as I've said, you are going to help us, I hope, the country as well to understand objectively what's happened and to move forward.
Okay, I've got 6 minutes left, so I'll be very quick. There was something that you said that concerned me a bit, Minister, when you said you didn't have a handover. I mean, obviously, yeah, the circumstances are a bit... but I'm worried whether you won't fall into the same trap that Minister Mkhunu fell into. Because Minister Ele said, in fact, I think I'm quoting him verbatim when he said, if he had just called me and spoken to me, this would never have happened. Now, when you come in and you don't have a handover, you said you wanted to have fresh eyes, but are you not worried that that lack of institutionalized memory, at least at the level of the ministry, would then be lacking? And, you know, I mean, for example, you came in and there's Mr. Ngabinde. I don't know what that experience was like, but does it not concern you that you didn't have a handover with your predecessor?
It didn't sit well with me at all, and I reflected a long time because of my relationship with Senzo. You know, I didn't sit well with me. I didn't want him to feel like I had prejudged matters, that I was sitting in judgment of him. But the decision I made was that if I had met with him and then there would inevitably have been a conversation about the events concerning the disbandment of the team, for instance. He would have clearly taken the opportunity to share his impressions with me. That would have made it difficult for me to build trust with the police, with General Masemola, certainly General Mkonazi. And I have to say that I think, I mean, you know, I was definitely in a difficult position with the Chief of Staff there. Again, you know, I have no reason to impugn his integrity because I'm now in this public forum. We worked well together for a period of time. But then I said to him, look, you know, you are going to be appearing before the Madlanga Commission, before the ad hoc committee. You might well have had a certain engagement with the issues which are going to be explored in this process, and I can't, in that situation, continue to have you as my Chief of Staff because it just creates the wrong impression. The perception is not right. And of course, I've been confirmed in that decision by you know, by how events have unfolded. So I made a difficult decision. You can imagine, you know, we are in the same organization, and you know what it means to have relationships in the same organization. You treat each other with respect. You have a special bond. I didn't want Senzo to think that you know, that I was pleased with what had happened. I wasn't. But I also thought that prudence demanded that I accept that I couldn't have a normal engagement with my predecessor. That was the decision that I took. It has meant that I've had to find my feet with a great deal more difficulty. I have had the two deputy ministers, but even with them, they were there.
Sorry, Minister, I'm going to stop you. You saw the chair is brutal. And I want to get in my last question. There are many South Africans, Minister, who believe that, you know, these commissions, reports and things are a waste of time. I know that Honourable James had asked you about quick wins or low-hanging fruit. I'm interested to just find out that in your experience, I know you haven't been there for long, But are you taking anything from whether it was the Zondo Commission, the Mufamadi report, I think that, I don't know if there was another one about intelligence. Are you taking anything that come from these commissions and these reviews and using it to build better? Because you did say from this there must be a reset from the police service. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. All of those reports that you mentioned, I have a direct line with the President's National Security Advisor. We engage regularly. I am looking at all of these reports, the Zonda report, the January 1st report that you're referring to. So a lot of reading, and I see part of my responsibility as integrating these recommendations and insight into the work that we must do. So on crime intelligence, the Zondo Commission made quite extensive findings, and I'm going to use those findings as a basis to engage with the National Commissioner.
And then the implementation of NACAC, the NACAC recommendations, who's responsible for that?
Well, it's not entirely clear yet, but the recommendations affect mainly the Department of Justice and the South African Police Service. We have moved ahead. I've had engagements with Minister Kubai. We're in the workshop phase because we have to bring the two departments together. And it's not going to be easy because there's the DPCI that sits under me, and then there's the SIU and IDEC, and the NPA that sits under the Minister of Justice. And her department will also have to agree to implement a version of these proposals because they might raise issues that we didn't anticipate, that we hadn't thought about, and so forth, or from their perspective. And so what might come out of this process are, I hope that the bulk of the recommendations will be implemented with some amendments. There is some momentum after the President said that he supports them. And now that, I am in a better position to drive this working with Minister Kubai, who is definitely interested in this project. So I hope that we can make progress.
Thank you, Minister. And thank you once again for your beautiful exposition of ministerial powers. It was the most clarity I've seen on this topic for a long time. Thank you, Chairperson. I have no further questions.
Hallelujah.